Excuse me, the Lady Queen has summoned me to see to her unmentionables. Well, not much. Just, may I air that for you, my lady? She's brought a maid of her own to wait on her. I beg your pardon, sir, but I really can't be seen standing about. The housekeeper will have my head. Good day.
Maker's breath. It's good to see you in one piece, my friend.
Indeed. We have been praying for your safe return, Warden. I was uncertain you would respond as you did, considering the consequences. I am glad you did. Thank you. Now, however, we must work together. And quickly. My father has gone mad. I didn't believe it at first, but he is gripped by a paranoia so severe it prevents him from seeing sense. He saw me as a threat. Yet even now, I'm certain he will be telling the nobles you are dangerous murderers that have kidnapped and mind-controlled me. He may even believe it. I thought so. I'd hoped so. Howe's influence was strong. His death can only be a good thing. But even that will not be enough. I know my father, and he is committed to his course. He will see this through, no matter what. You will need ammunition come the Landsmeet, and I can help you in that regard. You have only just arrived in the city, so perhaps you are unaware of some recent events. Denerim has been in turmoil since Ostagar. Many people here are angry or grieving. Strangely, the unrest is worst in the alienage. Few elves accompanied the army. They should have little reason to be upset, which means that How and my father must have given them reason. I don't know what is happening there, but I am certain my father has his hands in it.
A useful lead, Anora, but you could have sent this information with your maid.
That is true. I feared for my safety as How's prisoner. But to tell the truth, I sent Elena to you because I hoped we might join forces. You need that evidence for the Landsmeet, but you also need a stronger candidate for the throne. You need me. I have no doubt Alistair is biddable enough, and decent, but even with his blood, he is no king. You think only I can see it? Not only that, Alistair is a Grey Warden. It will look like you are trying to put a Grey Warden on the throne, despite your claims. I am a neutral party, and I am already Queen.
Anora, you are indeed Kaelin's widow, but...
I am the daughter of Ferelden's greatest general. Who do you think truly ruled this nation for the last 5 years? Kaelin. I am what this country needs, not an untrained king who does not even want the throne. I can help you stop my father. Consider what I have said. For now, I think I will retire to my room. Warden, when you have a moment, I ask that you speak to me in private.
Well, she's quite spirited. I remember when Loghain first brought her to Denerim. Poor Kaelin was a good boy, but Anora was always 2 steps ahead. Had him jumping when she snapped since the first time she batted her eyelashes. I cannot help thinking she may be trouble, but we should keep her close, all the same. This is an alliance of convenience. For the moment, we are united against Loghain. Be careful how much trust you place in her. I do not for a moment think Anora means to give up her power easily. Still, I would rather have her where we can watch her than actively working for Loghain. Anora was a capable administrator for Kaelin's lands, but she has not a drop of royal blood. We did not fight the Orlesians all those years just to lose our royal line in a single generation. Not when there's a surviving son of the blood.
Are you serious? No, never mind. I don't even want to hear the rest of this. You two just keep talking about me. I'm going to stand over here with my fingers in my ears.
That would certainly solve a lot of problems. and put forth the strongest argument before the Landsmeet to remove Loghain from power. With Therin blood on the throne, and Anora's wisdom and popularity, Ferelden could present the most united front against the Blight. Unfortunately, the marriage would never happen unless they both agreed to it. And I suspect that might take a lot of persuading to get past her pride and his humility. Ferelden was first united by Calenhad, the Silver Knight. For 400 years, his descendants have ruled Ferelden. That was the heritage we preserved from the Orlesians, and it is the heritage I will fight for as long as one of Calenhad's descendants still lives. Without that to unite us, we could scatter back to warring Terniers.
No, I don't, which I've told both of you on many occasions. If Anora's turned against Loghain, I say let her keep the crown. It looks better on her anyway.
You're both wrong. With a few months of experience, Alistair will make a fine king. He knows how to lead troops to defend his land. He knows how to stand and fight for justice. He knows how to show compassion to those less fortunate, and how to trust to the Maker's guidance to know right from wrong. And he knows who to turn to for aid, should that training fail him. He will be fine. We certainly have a great deal to plan. Maker knows what that man is capable of now. Of course, if I might make a suggestion, go speak with Anora. She will either be a powerful ally or a powerful enemy, and the sooner we know which she is, the better.
Hello again, Warden. It is good that you came to speak with me. I will be blunt. I can see that your voice will be a strong one in days to come. It is to you that Eamon listens, and with good reason. My father must be stopped, but once that is done, Ferelden will need a ruler. I would welcome your support for my throne. No? You're a Grey Warden, and despite the fact that my father will paint himself as the only one who can protect the country from the Blight, it is not so. Secondly, you saved Arl Eamon from a plot that no doubt had its origins in Hal's sick little mind. People will not forget that. You are competent and powerful, and in the right place at the right time. Used to your advantage, these things could bring you far. For years, I have ruled this kingdom as Caelin's queen. As much as they loved Caelin, all of the Banon knew this to be so. Caelin was a good man, but what is needed now is not another good man, but a good ruler. I sent Alina here not solely because I thought I needed help, but because I saw an opportunity for us both. I need your support, Warden, and you will need mine. Do you disagree? You are a fellow Grey Warden. What do you think of Alistair's potential to rule? Never mind his willingness. Alistair seems like a kind, well-meaning man, and biddable enough. These are admirable qualities, if not kingly ones. He also seems to be a fine Grey Warden, which is exactly why he should remain one and serve the kingdom by defeating the Darkspawn. Caelin knew of Alistair. It was Arl Eamon that kept Alistair out of the courts, as Merrick had desired. Oh, there are some who would follow Alistair out of respect for his Therin blood. The others would see this as Eamon grabbing for power. Who else do you think Alistair would turn to for help? Eventually, the nobility would return to the old days of constant warring with each other. Alistair's weakness would destroy everything Merrick built. My feelings towards Alistair have nothing to do with it. I barely know him. I simply believe that I am what this country needs. I will fight for what I believe. Would Alistair do the same? Thus, I say again, I would welcome your support for the throne if you would give it. I agree that there is much to be done before the lands meet, but don't you think plans should still be made for what will follow? I do. That is exactly what I am proposing. When the time comes, you support my bid in the lands meet to remain on the throne. You will be seen as my father's enemy, yet you will be in support of his daughter. You will be seen as supporting the interests of Ferelden, as opposed to solely those of the Grey Wardens. In return, I add my voice to yours. Do you see? Together we can do what alone we cannot. He is my father, as well as a great general, who has served his nation well until now. If there is a way for him to live, I would prefer it. I will always be my father's daughter, but even I know he must pay for his crimes. It will not make me glad, even so. Does that affect your decision? Can we yet come to an arrangement? Ignoring that the man looks so much like Cailan, my recently dead husband, if you'll recall, my main fear is that he might govern like Cailan as well. But it is true that Alistair has Theron blood. To some, this is more important even than practical considerations. A union might be considered a compromise, but is this something Alistair even desires? Let me say this. If Alistair is willing to stand back and allow me to continue governing the nation, then I would be willing to have him as my king. It is my understanding that governing does not appeal to him anyhow. If that is so, this is a compromise I can live with. Do you foresee me agreeing to place an untried, unwilling man on the throne otherwise? One whose largest decisions to date have consisted of which shoe to put on first? If it will settle matters more quickly, I am willing to agree to this. But only if it will benefit Ferelden. Do so. I will be interested to hear what he has to say.
So I'm guessing someone told Anora I was planning to steal her throne. She has a nasty glare. Did anyone mention this wasn't my idea? I think she's a great queen. As far as I'm concerned, she's welcome to it. Really? Whatever will give you that idea? Well, it's nice that you think so. What do you think I should do? Go ahead and be king, just to let it happen? Marry her? As in marriage, as in be her husband? You've spoken to her about this? You did, didn't you? Why would you do that? Did you take a blow to the head? That's crazy. Yes, I suppose you're right. The Landsmeet will probably see that too. Go ahead then. Tell her I'll do it if it comes to that. Now excuse me while I go have a small heart attack somewhere. No big deal, right?
Well, have you spoken to my lucky betrothed yet? Or will we be reduced to passing notes? He has? I wasn't expecting that, to tell you the truth. To marry Cailan's brother. Well, I suppose stranger things have happened. If it will truly help matters... Is this it then? I agree to marry Alistair to retain my throne, and in exchange I give you my support. If not, then tell me now. Done. So, we have a deal, Warden. I trust you'll keep your end of the bargain. Now, I suppose, comes the task of dealing with my father. That will be no small feat, of course, but I am certain you already know this. I imagine you have much to do. Is there anything else you needed from me? Ask me whatever you like. Of course it does. Do you think me heartless? But how much worse would I be to calmly stay at the side of a man who murdered my husband? It seems a strange word to describe a marriage our parents arranged when he was newly born and I still in swaddling clothes, but yes, I loved him. He was reckless, impetuous, and charming. Had he not been king, he would have made a dashing rogue for a band of players. We were a good pairing. He would not have wanted the burden of ruling any more than I would have liked to remain the silent wife in my husband's shadow. Calen was so idealistic. The world was his storybook and he was the hero. My father is different. He's an idealist too, but he knows what idealism costs. They often clashed, but never seriously, never for long. Calen would always come round to Father's way of thinking eventually. And then the Blight came. Calen dreamed of uniting all the nations of Thedas against the Darkspawn. It was a dream. He wouldn't surrender. What my father saw, however, was the boy he had swaddled inviting Orlesian troops back into the land he had fought to free of them. And for once, my poor, foolish husband wouldn't back down. They would not believe it, most of them, even from my lips. Loghain is the hero they've looked up to their whole lives. Far easier to believe you or me a liar than him a murderer and tyrant. That's why it will be critical to find some way to discredit him before the lands meet. We must have proof of my father's crimes for the bands, or they will never believe us. Ask me whatever you like. Do you want me to try my luck at fortune-telling? There was an old woman who read palms in the village of Gwarren when I was a child. She told me that I would have 10 children and be bald as a winter heath when I grew up. I can't say I put much faith in foretelling. What will happen depends much on you, Warden. But you certainly knew that already. Well, he was once a farmer when he was a boy, if you can believe it. I never could myself. He's useless with plants, for one thing. I remember my mother once asking his help with a sick rose vine. My mother oversaw the rose gardens personally. He touched it. No more than that. And it shed half its leaves like a dog with mange. She never asked for him to help with her roses again. He bought her another one, though. He carried it back from Denerim with the branches overflowing his saddlebag. Despite the thorns tearing him bloody, he wouldn't let anyone else take it. He wanted to be the one to present it to her. My father has his faults, Warden, but he is far from common. Because he believes he is right, Warden. He thinks he is the only one who can see Ferelden out of its current crisis, even if it is one he helped engineer. My father is capable of remarkable blindness, but it stems from his love of Ferelden. That is the saddest part of all, I think. I hope not, but I fear it is so, yes. Trust would perhaps be putting it too strongly. My father knew what Howe was, and while I despised the man, I knew that father relied on his political mind. I expect my father thought himself above being influenced by the snake. Truly, I wonder how many of these acts stemmed from Howe and not my father at all. We may never know. I'm not sure. I had no inkling of my father's plans until Calen was already dead. I would like to think that my father planned for the worst, but did not truly decide that Calen was a lost cause until that moment in Ostagar. The alternative is difficult to imagine. Ask me whatever you like. Then I wish you luck, Warden.
Warden, let me know if there's any assistance I can give you. We have much to do and little time. What? Maker's breath. You didn't magic them, did you? Pleased would hardly describe it. Shocked. I'm shocked. If you had come in here and told me they'd both sprouted wings and flown to Tevinter, I would be less stunned. This alliance can only help us. Well done, my friend. We need to do all that we can in the few days left to us before the lands meet.
Hello again, friend. It looks as though you're no worse for wear after your stay in Fort Draken. It's located just off the Market District in the northern alley past the Old Noble Tavern. I'll sketch out the code which will let you pass the lock wheel. Inside you can take your pick of whatever equipment remains. It is the stockpile the Wardens have kept for centuries, for the defense of Denerim. We went through our joining together, more years ago than I like to remember. He was exactly the same back then, tough as stone and just as grizzled. I think he understood sooner than the rest of us how ugly a choice it is to let the few be sacrificed to protect the many. Always left himself a soft spot for his recruits, though. Only way he ever let himself down. When I'm well enough, I'm going to continue my journey toward Ostagar. Hopefully I'll be able to trace the heart of the Blight and where the Archdemon itself abides. If we want to defeat this Archdemon, we need to know where it is and how soon it might strike. If there were more of us, I would agree. But as it is, I don't think we can deprive all the armies you've gathered of a commander. Well, I'd be happy to tell you what I know, but it seems to me that you've picked the important parts up yourself. Be firm in your beliefs, protect people from their own ignorance, and be as loyal as you can to your brothers, even knowing you'll share their deaths. It's tough to say. Only the fortress in Weishaupt has every record. But there are certainly a few dozen or hundreds in every nation in Thedas. The Anderfells are home to over 1,000. It's almost like the Archdemon chose Ferelden deliberately, knowing how unguarded it is. Once only, and I'd rather not go again. It's far, lad. And very foreign. The Wardens there, they fight Darkspawn like you and me, but they're shaped by the winters there and the forest. They're a cold group and don't care like they should about the rest of the world. Their king is weak, and many Anders look to the Wardens to rule. I hate to say this, but some of them seem to want it that way. It was near 1,200 years ago, and no one knows for sure, except that it began with a group of Ander soldiers. Apparently, they defected from their king's army, vowing that fighting the Blight was more important, and traveled all the way to Tevinter themselves. They were the first ones to track down the Archdemon Dumat, and the ones to slay him, though none survived the battle. But they had picked up followers by then, and it was they who formally founded the Order, and were recognized by Thedas. Archdemons don't awaken on their own, you know. It takes the Darkspawn, tunneling and tunneling, searching for centuries to find one. And with no one to lead them, it must be sheer chance, or maybe instinct, which leads them. What's surprising isn't that it takes so long between Blights. What's surprising is that they succeed at all. But I imagine the old gods call to them. And it's that voice in the darkness which drives them through so many generations. The important thing to remember is, none of that matters. When you're facing Darkspawn, all you need to know is to stop them at all costs.